and discover the wonderful rewards that yoga can bring. We'll begin with a sitting pose.
I'm Edward October. The sound you hear is an at-home yoga instruction course already in progress. This is the start of Octoberpod.
Listen to what your body's
telling.
If I stop watching, I can't save her. I found her stream a month ago, during a rare confluence of self-disdain and spare time that collided into something resembling motivation. Tucked between the kickboxing classes and the home gym meatheads was her thumbnail. It caught my eye. It was a simple shot of her face, so near to the camera that I could count her freckles. Her teeth a little too large for her mouth and her nose ever so slightly crooked. I've never been the type of guy to consider yoga, but I tuned in, and in a matter of seconds, I was entranced. The girl was in her living room, a haphazard mise-en-scène. The floor speckled with sad little plants and stacks of magazines. She posed with her hands on the floor and her hips thrust in the air, her butt perched in the center of the screen. I decided to stay a while. I had no yoga mat, so I laid out a towel. It was difficult to follow along. She talked, a lot, and only a fraction of it was about the routine. She'd say things like, "Press your heels together and bend your head to your feet, breathing deeply. My feet smell like peaches and cream today. Makes me want to gobble them up. I love summer peaches. I love biting into them and feeling the juice erupt in my mouth. It reminds me of the time when..." And I fell into the meditative quagmire woven by her words, inhaling the scent of my own socks, failing to notice she'd moved into a different pose. After a while, my muscles trembled with the effort of supporting my soft body in these uncomfortable positions, so I called it a day. It was then that I noticed it. Subscribers. 1. That was me. I was the only one watching.
Yoga for One, an original story written by Shawn Moreau of the Morbid Forest podcast, narrated by Matt Johnson of Second Fiddle's podcast.
I checked back into her channel the next few afternoons. It was the strangest thing. She was always streaming. She was either unaware of my presence or apathetic to it. Her ramblings, so freewheeling that they approached random word association, didn't seem to change whether I was there or not. She was often mid-sentence when I logged in. She was flirty in a way that made it clear she wasn't trying to be, charmingly raw in her tendency to fumble instructions. Curiosity overwhelmed me. I yearned to discover more about this fascinating creature. Her movements drew me in, like she was grasping at me through the screen. I marveled at the feeling of being her silent voyeur. I developed more comfort with the basic poses, though I still couldn't get my hands anywhere near my toes. Too soon, she notched up the level of difficulty. She eased herself into splits, each leg outstretched, her toes pointed at perfect right angles. I tried my best to replicate the pose, my groin protesting the pressure. Each day she pushed a little farther. She curved her spine sharply behind her, a graceful arc. She lifted her back leg high into the air at an angle that seemed to wrench her hip out of place. I forced my body into the closest approximations of her geometry that my tendons would allow. My teeth gritted against the sharp warnings issued by my nerves. At night, I dreamed that she was breaking my joints, cracking my limbs into the clean shapes that she maintained so effortlessly. One day, she twisted her arms so far behind her that I felt sympathetic pain, and folded herself up so that her legs swooped around her shoulders, touching her toes behind her neck. She smiled at the camera, demurely, and politely asked, "You want to see me bend into a pretzel, don't you?" That was the first time she'd ever addressed me directly. I would forget to eat. I'd wake up on the couch, having dozed off, and she would be murmuring about pomegranates while her forehead brushed her knees. Did she sleep? Did she eat? I saw no evidence of it. Every time I moved, my body ached with the memory of being stretched to its limit. I was spending 10, 12, 14 hours a day on her stream. She spoke to me frequently, telling me, "I know you've been watching me," or "I think you like watching me. How far do you want me to twist for you?" The fluid shifting of her body into vertices and curves and delicate polygons was hypnotizing. I was getting lost in the light of a flickering flame as it swirled into different patterns. I was working myself into something more pliable, molding myself into something like her image. It's difficult to pinpoint the moment she went too far. It was more like the creep of quicksand than any one single point. She would lie on her back and lift herself on the palms and soles of her feet, her torso thrusting at the ceiling like she was something from The Exorcist. She would inch her hands and feet closer together, folding her body backwards on itself until she was nearly split in half. And then she would skitter forward until the whites of her eyes flooded the screen, scaring me so much that I jumped. And she would laugh, as if she had made a joke. She would twist her head around like an owl and thrust it between her thighs, always blinking at the screen, always smiling like we were sharing some inside secret, like I was in on the sly conspiracy. She said, "You like this, don't you, Mr. Smith? Am I your foldable pocket toy?" Smith is a very common last name. There was a non-zero chance she'd just guessed correctly. But this freaked me out enough to slam the laptop shut, shattering the image of her toothy smile.
Has a profound influence on the way you feel about yourself and the way others
I tried
perceive
to resume normal life, but I had almost nothing to fill my time except television and social media and filling out applications for jobs I'd never want to work. A strange sensation tickled at me, like something was wrong, like I was forgetting something, and powerful waves of guilt. The same guilt I'd felt when I closed her stream the first day I'd found her. I tried not to. I really tried to stay away. But the urge overwhelmed me, so I returned. For the first time, she wasn't on screen when I logged in. I peered closer at the scene, seeing the familiar yoga mat on the ground, the coffee table, the magazines. There was a soft noise coming from just off screen, a muffled noise, irregular and halting. A human voice. I turned the volume all the way up, and I couldn't tell if it was laughter or crying. Feeling sick, I closed the stream. This brings us to yesterday. I had spent countless hours thinking about her, wondering what she was doing, whether she was still telling stories to her invisible visitor. I logged in. Her eyes filled the webcam's field of vision so suddenly that I scrambled backwards. And that sound, echoing around the halls of her apartment and mine. And it was now clear that it was a sound of misery. Her moan was wordless, and as her face backed away, I saw why. Her bare foot was stuffed halfway in her mouth, her jaw nearly unhinged to accommodate it, the ball wedged between her teeth. Tears were streaming down her face, pooling around the corners of her stretched lips. Her arms were folded behind her head, and her other leg was tucked under the first. She was struggling, and I realized that she was stuck. She was trapped in that position, a twisted ball of limbs and strained joints, unable to speak. I stared slack-jawed at the screen, and her eyes met mine, seeming to blink in recognition. The force of her sobs swelled to a crescendo. In relief? I wasn't sure. I had no idea what to do. I didn't know her name or where she lived. I didn't even know for sure that she was in the same country. I sat, frozen, for long moments, watching the twitching of her limbs as she tried to wrench herself out of the cage her body made. Then it struck me. I could type. "Can you type your address?" The message pinged its arrival at her computer, our first real communication. She shook her head almost imperceptibly, with the slight range of motion her position allowed. I tried again. "Can you type with your nose?" Her eyes flickered across the page as she read my words. With great effort, she rocked herself over, landing face first on the keyboard, unable to type anything but random gibberish. My heart pounding, I said, "Try again." I watched as she managed to prop herself precariously on one shoulder. Her body was convulsing with the force of her sobs. Eventually, she leaned forward, carefully, delicately, and pressed the tip of her nose to the keys. 3. Yes, that was it. That's great. Give me another number. We traded for long, suspenseful minutes, her giving me one number or letter at a time, me writing them down and encouraging her as best I could. "You're doing great. I'm here with you. Help is on the way." She had cobbled together a number and a street. It had taken us nearly an hour to get to this point. She had just finished typing apartment 12 when she stopped, trembling with the effort of keeping herself upright, and we met eyes again through the camera, hers shining with pain and fear. And then she collapsed. She rolled out of sight. Panicking, I sent her dozens of frantic messages. What city? What state? Stay with me, I'm here. Where are you? I need more. It became clear that no more was coming. Her sobs stilled, her breath quieted. I searched and found every city in the country where the address she'd given me existed. I called every police station in every jurisdiction within range. It took a lot of explanation, but after hours of work, there was nothing I could do but sit and wait nervously by the phone and stare at the empty apartment framed within my laptop screen. All I could do was type, "I'm here with you. You'll be safe. This will all be over soon. You're not alone." The ringing of the phone nearly sent me out of my skin. It was 1 a.m. "Did you find her?" I asked desperately, scanning the scene for any signs of activity. "Tell me she's all right." The voice on the other end of the line sighed, a deep sigh of sadness or frustration. I couldn't say. "We found her," he said, his words gentle but guarded. "Stuck in that position, as you described. She's not okay. She died of dehydration." I said, "That's not possible. I just spoke to her." The voice on the phone said, "I don't know what you saw, son. I truly don't. But the girl we found has been dead for a month."
It's intermission time, folks. I'm your host, Mr. Edward October. You know, we're not even halfway through 2026, and it's already been quite a gnarly year. I'm sure that many of you, when confronted with the problems in our personal lives or with the many atrocities splattered across every form of media we consume, like to visualize a happy place to retreat into for just a brief moment, long enough to gather one's thoughts and catch one's breath. Whenever I visualize a happy place, I think of a Halloween party or a fall festival, or even a mom and pop video store. And so, between the acts of Octoberpod, I'd like to step into the Wayback Machine and travel to a time before AI, before streaming services, before social media, hell, even before the internet, and revisit all of the mom and pop video rental businesses that were the happy places from my youth. Come join me, won't you? Video Store Days, Part 1, First VCR and Showtime Video. The first time I ever went into a business of any kind that rented video cassettes was when my family bought our first VCR. I would have been in elementary school. I'm going to guess it was around 1984 or 85, and we were in some electronics store that I have only the sketchiest memory of. They were selling VCRs, and I guess renting tapes on the side so that people who'd bought a VCR there would have something to go home and watch. We bought a big, boxy unit of a VCR. It was an RCA with a faux wood panel finish and silvery buttons on the front. Now, there were two kinds of dads raising Gen Xers: John Wayne dads and Clint Eastwood dads. My father was a member of the latter tribe, and so one of the first tapes we ever rented and watched as a family was A Fistful of Dollars. As a child, I had a deep and abiding loathing of Westerns. They're still not at the top of my list, but my parents coaxed me into watching this Clint Eastwood spaghetti Western by telling me, an avid comic book reader, that the man with no name was like a Western superhero, and that the poncho or serape he wore was his cape. I was much too young for it, as it turns out, because I remember being mildly traumatized when the Rojos, or was it the Baxters, kidnapped Clint and beat the ever-loving piss out of him, all while that one dude with the cigar laughs and laughs and laughs. In those days, our video store of choice was Showtime Video. About a 20-minute drive from our house in the next town over. We lived in the middle of nowhere. Showtime Video was nestled in the end unit of a strip mall called the Heritage Center, which housed 6 or 8 other businesses in a building that looked like an extra long ranch-style brick home with asphalt shingles. What I remember about this business is that it was neat as a pin, with a very clean layout and no unnecessary clutter. VHS boxes were displayed face out on narrow wooden shelves, just deep enough to accommodate the box, and spaced apart from one another with nearly military precision. Now, the boxes were empty and often stuffed with styrofoam to help them maintain their shape. There was a little brass hook screwed into the wood beneath each display box, and from each hook hung a little round dog tag, for lack of a better descriptor, with a little handwritten serial number hanging from it. If you wanted to rent that movie, you'd pull the dog tag from the hook and hand it to the clerk, who, like a librarian, would retrieve the actual tape from a shelf behind the counter. If there was no dog tag hanging from the hook, then you knew that tape was checked out. This was a rather persnickety system for checking out a videotape, and I can't really think of another store utilizing a similar method. Rentals here were for either 2 or 3 days, and if you turned them in late, you'd be charged a late fee. $1 per day was the industry standard, as I recall. For the most part, we haunted this shop when I was still quite young, which means many of the tapes I rented there were kiddie stuff. They had an impressive selection of Shelley Duvall's fairy tale theater in handsomely illustrated boxes from Playhouse Home Video. I never rented these, but they looked cool. I was in it for comic book action fare and rented lots of GoBots, He-Man and She-Ra, G.I. Joe, the 70s Shazam cartoon, and various titles from Prism Video's Marvel Comics Video Library.
Following the debut release of 18 Marvel Comics Video Library cassettes, we'll present 12 brand new Marvel titles every 60 days. Every cassette is imprinted with the signature of Marvel Comics creator Stan Lee, making them the ultimate comic book collectible. Best of all, the low suggested retail price makes the Marvel Comics Video Library the most terrific entertainment value available today. So for thrills and fun as unlimited as the imagination itself, experience the Marvel Comics Video Library.
They also had lots and lots of stuff from the Disney Vault. Now, if you're not familiar with the Disney Vault, before Disney Plus came out, Disney was very stingy with their home video releases. They would release something on video for a limited time, and then it would go out of print. And if you missed it, you missed it. Now, luckily, the video stores would collect a lot of the Disney Vault stuff, but Disney entertainment was not nearly as accessible during the VHS days as it is now. On January 28, 1986, I was home from school on a snow day. My dad and I sat around all morning watching compilations of Donald Duck, Goofy, and Chippendale shorts that we'd rented from Showtime. When we rewound the last tape of the morning and switched back to network TV, we only got NBC, ABC, CBS, and PBS, courtesy of rabbit ears. We found that we were just in time to watch the launch and explosion of the Challenger space shuttle. I was 7 years old. As I grew up and my tastes changed, and as I blossomed into a husky young monster kid, I became more and more cognizant of the horror selection at Showtime Video. This is where I first rented Godzilla 1985, and my lifelong obsession began. The box art for movies that I would later watch as a teenager started to catch my eye, like DEFCON 4 or Edge of Sanity, the horny, cocaine-fueled Jekyll and Hyde picture starring Anthony Perkins. I've always been a Hammer horror fan, but had a difficult time coming across those films, especially on VHS. So you can imagine the thrill I experienced when I encountered The Satanic Rites of Dracula on the shelves at Showtime. The only problem was that it was of the later R-rated entries in the Hammer Dracula series. Undeterred, I asked my mother if I could rent The Satanic Rites of Dracula. "You're not getting the satanic rites of anything," she quipped on our way out the door.
It's happening right now in London. New York could be next. Or Paris, or Rome, or Tokyo. It's happening right now to this girl. Perhaps it's your turn next.
The real force is more sinister, more obscene than any monstrosity you can think of. Lord of corruption, master of the undead.
Count Dracula. Nothing is too vile.
Nothing is too dreadful. You will need to know the terror, the horror.
Is that what you want, Count Dracula? A last blaze of utter horror and violence, ghastly annihilation of an entire planet.
Is this your own death wish? I call upon you to witness
My supreme triumph.
Count Dracula! Dracula!
My revenge has spread over centuries and has just begun!
Showtime Video disappeared a long time ago, but the Heritage Center strip mall is still there, across the street from a Dairy Queen and a Pizza Inn, looking as unimpressive as ever. It's the home of a nail salon, a tattoo parlor, a lingerie boutique, and a sewing shop. The unit that once housed Showtime Video is now a DVD wholesaler. Next time I'm back home, I may have to check it out, for old time's sake. Well, that's all for now, folks. Looks like the concession stand is running low on hot dogs. Better get yours loaded with all the fixins while they last, because Act 2 of Octoberpod starts now.
A lot of things were hidden from the senses, but not the smell. When you are decomposing from the inside out, the smell is impossible to cover, but it can be easy to miss, for yourself and the people around you. Folk might think you need to brush your teeth, that you have gingivitis or maybe halitosis. They don't tend to know that the smells of death masquerade just like the other signs of death tend to do. People have forgotten a lot of things on the surface, but deep down we know. Deep down those around you smell the odor of your body dying, and they subconsciously start to think of you in a different way. Act differently around you and be different about you, all without even knowing it.
This is Debbie, by the way. Say hello to everyone.
Hello to everyone.
And this is Debbie Does Death, an original story by Amber Jourdan, narrated by Carissa Vikis, creator-host of Beauty Unlocked, the podcast, with Edward October. Going back to what you were saying, maybe it's an internal protection measure of some kind. By beginning to pull away as the senses perceive your upcoming demise, those around you subconsciously diminish their emotional response to your inevitable passing. In theory, it makes perfect sense.
Exactly. You know, most people won't be as affected by the death of someone they had a falling out with, or someone they decided wasn't a person they wanted in their life anymore. Hell, some won't even know you've died. Unlikely to have any negative responses for themselves about your death at all. I mean, I don't know. It's just a thought. Anyway, I think that was the hardest part. Experiencing those I loved see me for what I am now. Diseased, ill, dying. Then pull away from me because of it, without even knowing that was what they were doing.
We should probably tell the people that this all began when you survived a rather nasty car accident.
It's amazing that didn't kill me. I had to have so much reconstructive surgery.
And as a result, you were drowning in medical debt. Medical debt you couldn't pay, because much of the surgery you underwent to save your life was deemed non-essential care by your insurance company. But given the nature of your injuries, they offered you a deal.
They wanted me to be a human trial subject for a life-prolonging, anti-aging medication they were hoping to bring to market. Something called Vivifex. If I agreed to be patient zero for this shit, they'd pay off all my pre-existing medical debt and cover all of my other medical expenses. For life. Sounded like a hell of a deal to me.
A deal with the devil, sounds like.
Right? I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement stating that I couldn't tell anyone, not my doctors, not my employer, not my family, nobody, about Vivifex. If I broke the NDA, it would render our agreement null and void, and I'd be on the hook for all of my medical debt again. So I kept quiet, even as I began to slowly rot from the inside out. You see, Vivifex didn't prolong my life. All it did was allow death to enter my body sooner. It didn't extend life. It created a state of living death.
It turned you into a zombie.
I mean, yeah, that's exactly what it did. And all of this gnarly shit started happening to my body. The smell of my decay escaped my mouth with every breath. My physical being gave telltale scents for the lizard brains around me to pick up on. As my skin breathed, as my pores expressed my perspiration, my soon-to-be carcass emitted warning blasts of odor, screaming out the fact that death was here. And yet, people around me were not conscious of the fact that they wanted less to do with me because deep down they knew that I was dying. Had they consciously known, they would have made an effort to reach out. They would have forced themselves to come around, to be there for me, with me, if they knew what they knew. But only our deep knowing picks up on these cues from the body, and most people are no longer in touch with those particular senses well enough to pick up on it. The smells, the changes in behavior, the changes in thinking.
Why don't you tell them about Easter Sunday?
Oh, geez. We always do brunch that my sister-in-law hosts at her house after church on Easter Sunday. I always bring the deviled eggs, and they're always a big hit. This year, nobody wanted to touch them. They said that they stunk up the joint. But that rotten egg smell wasn't the eggs. It was me. And I could see everyone at that brunch slowly start to realize it. And they just lost the desire to be around me. They whispered among themselves that I was letting myself go. They thought I should probably shower more, do my laundry, or pick up more often. They assumed I needed a lifestyle change.
When in fact, the smell was your kidneys expelling chemicals that smelled like sulfur, a side effect of the Vivifex. That and the fact that your liver had become toxic and diseased and dying within your own body.
Killing me, providing me an expiration date that, until recently, had been unassigned.
Or maybe it had always been assigned and everything was going as planned. You just had no idea how strange that plan was going to be.
I think that was the hardest part. I didn't know these things yet myself, so I just watched as every human being I thought was a person I could count on, family, friends, co-workers, chose to move themselves away from me. To make it worse, almost every single one of them chose to be dishonest about it. The lies and covering up were so hurtful and demeaning. I paid attention. I knew. To be fair, they did not want to deal with me any longer at all. Mostly they had reached the end of the rope that I was allotted in their heads. Interacting with me was becoming harder, more taxing, on anyone who had dared to come near. Maybe they couldn't handle an outburst of frustration. Painfully loud frustration because Debbie Depresso just needed an outlet to trauma dump on, and so they'd continually cancel their plans with me. Or maybe Debbie Demanding wanted an explanation for why everyone in her life was disappearing. And of course, demanding answers and requesting discussions was not helping the cause. One by one, they fell away. The longer it went on, the more likely it might be that Debbie Danger was getting dangerously close to exploding.
To be fair, your gallbladder, or was it your spleen, did, in fact, burst at some point.
Spleen, but that was much later. People would say the most awful things about my personality. they would pick apart my very being, as though they wanted to push me away or had finally moved on from me as a human, even those I was related to. In the moment, I guess we all just saw it as the movements of life, currents of energy pushing us together and pulling us apart. So before I watched myself die, before I saw the effects showing on the outside of my body caused by the effects from my body dying on the inside, I watched all of my human connections die, one relationship at a time, like watching bridge after bridge fall down, until I became an island onto myself, truly.
Did the pharmaceutical company, the one that gave you the Vivifex, did they ever reach out to you? Ever try to attempt to reverse the damage that the drug had done?
They gave me an 800 number to call if I experienced side effects, but every time I called it gave me the runaround. And whenever I was on hold, it played a recorded message reminding me about my NDA and the repercussions of breaking it. And so I never got any help, and I was never able to talk to anyone in my life about what I was going through. And that alienated me even more. It was the most heartbreaking thing about my death. The being alone, that is. The bitterness that crept out from the insipid loneliness. The resentment about being deserted and feeling unappreciated emanating from my soul. Manifesting in my atrocious attitude about everything. I was brokenhearted. My soul ached. And because of all that, I lashed out at my isolation with every opportunity that presented itself. This, of course, made everything so much worse. I didn't even mean to lash out. I didn't want to be so angry. It was not a cognitive occurrence. Had I been actually thinking with a rational mind, I would have never furthered my estrangement purposefully. Not that they knew or gave me credit for such. And maybe if they knew I was dying, they would have given me grace. But instead it just drove them away, in droves, until I was alone. And then the dying finally came, and I was still alone. I would see their faces everywhere. I held conversations with brooms in corners, spoke deep thoughts out loud to ropes hanging on doors. I was fairly far gone, and would easily forget that I was alone. I would see the human shape and desire the human connection so much that I saw what I wanted to see, or what I expected to see. I really don't know what I expected. I guess we all expect that when we pass, we will have our children with us. Or if we're so lucky, our grandchildren, our spouse, maybe our siblings as well, will be by your side. And hopefully some friends would come and be with us. Spend a little of their time with the time we have left. That the people we devoted our living to will be willing to witness our dying. I have found that only a small faction of humans are angelic enough to sit with death, to hold death, to allow it into their lives, and all the rest hide from death. They deal with it if they have to. They do what is necessary even, perhaps. But they don't embrace this leg of the journey. I really think if we could do that, be there for each other in their time of dying, people would be better off. I would have been better off. I know that. The dying hurt. I won't act as though feeling my own body die was some peaceful or heartfelt experience. Perceiving every single cell as it died off while it was ceasing to function and losing that spark that we call life. In my time alive, each one of my major pains could add up to equal a mere fraction of the agony that is the process of death. Being fully conscious and painfully aware of being alone, everything felt amplified through a lack of comfort. Someone being present would not have prevented my death, although it would have perhaps delayed the inevitable for me. The comfort of someone holding my hand until I lost my connection with the earthly side of everything, as it is not the delay of the inevitable death that keeps us going, but the comfort the person with us would bring. Because what good is more time if it is devoid of the life I lived for? Is death so final? Here I sit, I contemplate. I still mourn the relationships I buried before I died. I still long. I long for one more hug from my daughter, long to hear anyone at all tell me they love me just one more time. My children never reach out to me since I've gone, but one of my daughters did write a slam piece about my death using it against the American healthcare system. She only spoke about me in tangents, as it related to the point she made on the failings of the healthcare system, failings of our way of practicing Western medicine. It may as well have been a slam piece about me too. The way she spoke of me in the article, and how she slipped in all her dissatisfaction from childhood. Those items that were true and those that were false too. Who else would know? I certainly wasn't there to say my piece at all. Basically, the slam piece said that the government was wrong for how they treated citizens' health, and that it was just fine that I was dead after all.
Imagine if she knew everything about Vivifex. Say, I hope that shit never makes it to market.
I don't even know how I know this, though. One day I just did. I haven't been close to anything I would recognize as Earth or home since my funeral. So, how do I know? Am I now part of the universal knowledge? Was the article written into existence, causing it to become a part of the official record, which in turn allowed me to access it because I am also now part of the official record of knowledge in my intangible form? I don't know how I know, but after knowing what she wrote, I would rather not know. It was about the most hurtful part of this experience so far.
Funny how you were aware of so little while you were still alive, but now that you're dead, you seem to know so much.
Yeah, I suppose. The finality of my memory is the true death, the lack of importance connected to my existence. I seemingly mattered to no one, not to myself or to any other being who knew me, which always leads me to understand my death was both necessary and unnecessary. After the ecstatic release from my body, which it truly was, when the pain is so encompassing words stop meaning anything, the release is ecstasy. And it was ecstasy. I shot out of the bright, writhing ball that was the torment of my organs and bodily systems dying. The misery ricocheting through me and straight down to each and every cell in me. I projected out of that anguish, forcefully cast out of my dead body and jettisoned through the heavens. I traveled the Milky Way like a lost tourist. At first I went through my life, from every angle. I repeated it over and over, looking at it from different aspects. It was like the world's most painful playing of devil's advocate. Everything I did wrong, I was made to experience over and over, again and again, as if I hadn't done that in life already. But in death, it was even worse. Anything I did right was there to experience too. I was looking at every different angle, showing myself that I had no good deeds to my name. Seemingly in the perception of others, nothing I did was for the good of anything but myself. I didn't feel like that was how I was living my life. Indeed, I did think I was doing a pretty good job of being considerate and even selfless in things. But when I saw myself through the lens of everyone else, it was never so. The experience continually reminded me of the thought that we are all, each a part of the universe experiencing itself. The judgment was me and was everyone around me, but also the universe because that is us. I don't know if I am in hell, or if there even is a hell, but the torment of being a human seems like something I will be punished for, over and over. It sure seems like hell. I just go through everything over and over, so I watch every connection die before I watch myself die.
If that ain't hell, I think it'll do till the hell gets here.
And I feel all of it. I would have thought emotions would leave with death, but they have not died yet. Or maybe emotions exist in this same part of my consciousness as these thoughts happening here. Maybe this is my soul floating around, untethered. And my memories, they haven't gone anywhere yet either. Constantly having to relive them probably keeps me from forgetting. Without a brain anymore, I don't understand how I am able to remember. Maybe it has to do with being a part of all the knowledge that has existed or something. But whether or not I understand, this is how it is. And maybe that's the hardest part about dying. Reliving life over and over as though it were a nightmare. I loved my life. Well, I wanted to love my life. At one point, I did love my life. For a long time even. Then, little by little, I was beaten down by everything I wasn't doing right, according to everyone else. I wasn't keeping up enough. But there was always something else that needed to be done, or someone else that was dissatisfied with what I had done. It was always an uphill battle. I was always someone's bad guy. I said I hated my life, and I thought I did, until it went away piece by piece, right before my very eyes. And there was nothing I could do, until it was over. Then I could understand. I had done this to myself. I had said I hated my life because I was unhappy, but I was more unhappy when everyone that made my life worth living left it. Losing the life itself isn't the hard part. It's losing the life that was lived. That's the hardest part to process. And the process of becoming dead, well, that's equally hard progress.
Too bad they don't have shrinks for the dead.
Not any that I've met. I mean, look, it's not like I thought I would live forever. We all die. I just pictured it would go differently. So maybe I should have expected no less from my death. Look, I haven't met anyone, for example. I thought in death you met the other departed souls, but here I am. It's just me. Me in space. Lots of space. And the constant reruns of my life. Those moments when I'm just surrounded by space, not observing my life, are like a blessing. A drink of water for a man in a desert. I really thought I didn't do half bad. I thought I even did good. But seeing myself through everyone else's eyes, through everyone else's experience of me, there was no reason to celebrate. After going round so many times, it even makes sense that the only folks at my funeral were me and everyone working that day. A couple of people walked in thinking it was someone else's service. I wonder who set it all up. I do. Was it my ex-husband, my oldest daughter, youngest? I really have no idea. I was far away when all of that was happening. I mean, I don't know where I was, but it wasn't with my body. At this point, I was still very used to being with my body, so when I wasn't, that was very strange and odd, and any amount of away was far away. So like I said, I don't know exactly where I went, but I showed up at the funeral. I've been wondering if that has to do with the ritual for death and what it has to do for life. In all honesty, I was the only true guest in attendance. I had heard beliefs that the soul is with the body for 40 days after death. I was not. Well, I mean, I don't know how long it's been since I died, but the only time I was with my body at all was during the funeral. I guess other folks get to sit back and watch, listen to what people have to say about them. It's lovely, I'm sure, to hear what your loved ones remember about you, like a dignified send-off of some sort. Then there are those funerals where there's a room full of people but no one speaks about the deceased. Now that is depressing. But my funeral was worse. There was no one to speak. I'd say people coming and telling tasteless stories would have been better, but everyone who knew me would know that would be even worse than not showing up. Maybe that's why no one came. Not a single soul that I ever knew could think of one tiny thing that was nice that they could say about me. Perhaps they all pictured a room full of mourning people that they would have to pretend to care about me around. To be polite, of course. Maybe they couldn't bring themselves to be so dishonest. Maybe they refused to pretend for others that they cared, so they just stayed away. Regardless of the reason, they didn't come. Not a single one. So it was myself and my embalmed body. I told everyone I was related to that I didn't want to be pumped full of that poison, to then be planted in the earth and poison her. But there I lay anyway, full of chemicals, a waxy smile painted on my face. Watching as strangers came in to pay their respects, saw that I was not the one that they were trying to respect, and unceremoniously left the room. I noticed them notice the empty pews as they left. I saw their minds begin to wonder why there was no one present. They couldn't see me, of course, only my dead body. But it was my funeral, so I don't even know if my presence counts as being there. I really did think there would be more to death than this. I thought there would be other souls, meeting of higher powers, remembering my life fondly and mourning it. I really actually thought that when you died, if someone was thinking about you and missing you, then your spirit would be drawn to them. So either that is something I am wrong about, or just as likely, no one is missing and mourning my passing. It's so crazy. I devoted my life to all these people, and in the end, I meant nothing to them.
There are some people, esoteric types mostly, who believe that when you die, you astral travel to each planet, learning different aspects of your life. And once you have gotten all the way out to the end, you come back through, learning even more on the way back in.
I kind of think that's what's happening here. It makes more sense than everything else I learned in life. I don't really know, though. I learned a lot of things when I was alive. I never fully believed in much of them. I understood a few of them, and the idea of traveling to the planets that guide our astrology makes sense to me. The planets helping us learn and better understand ourselves to become better humans is something I believed in then, and I guess I still do now. Doesn't do me much good from here, though. I can't fix anything. I can't change the past. I could change how I am, but I'm dead, so not sure what good changing here will do. But I guess if I change now, my spirit will hold on to that change as it morphs into whatever it is that I'm doing next, right? I'm Debbie D'Angelo, and I died. I didn't know it was coming. I didn't see the signs. A lot of the signs of death were hidden from the senses, but not the smell.
And so closes Debbie Does Death. I hope you paid attention, because there will come a day when death does you. Stick around after the credits for a brief message from some of our favorite podcasters, creators, and friends. There may even be some bloopers, outtakes, and bonus content as well. You have been listening to Octoberpod. Octoberpod is produced, edited, and directed by Edward October. The series co-producers are Amber Jourdan, Whitney Zahar, and producer emeritus MJ McAdams. Additional audio engineering for select segments provided by Kevin of Straight Line Creative. Logo and banner graphics by Jessica Good. Edward October character design by Nick Calavera. Select stock photography and illustrations courtesy of Unsplash.com. Thorax, theme from Octoberpod, and Overture from Bigfoot Apocalypse, composed and performed by Nico Vitezi. Select music and FX cues courtesy of freesound.org. All other stock photography, illustrations, music, and FX cues, except where noted, are derived from Creative Commons sources or from sources and recordings within the public domain. All stories, essays, scripts, and audio plays performed on Octoberpod AM or Octoberpod Home Video are the intellectual property of their creators. Octoberpod retains the rights to the resultant audio productions and related promotional materials. Any content produced by Octoberpod may not be sold and distributed outside of Octoberpod or used to train AI models without the express written permission of the content owners. Octoberpod was conceived and performed in its entirety by real human creators. Generative AI was not used to produce Octoberpod, and it never will be. For business inquiries or story submissions, email octoberpod@gmail.com. Follow us on the dumpster fire formerly known as Twitter at OctoberpodVHS, on Instagram at OctoberpodVHS, on Blue Sky at octoberpod.bsky.social, or on the World Wide Web at octoberpodvhs.com. The man who spoke to you was Mr. Edward October.
For a movie podcast with deep dives, interviews, and thoughtful film analysis?
We ain't got none of that. What do we got?
You want to hold the bucket?
Right, I'll hold the bucket, sit in the cuff
stand
chair.
there with I will never blink. I'll just be there holding the bucket.
I will never blink. R.I.P.
That sweet, sweet pussy.
It is known that Jessica Tandy had the sweetest in Hollywood.
If you don't know, Google it. Don't Google Jessica Tandy's guys. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Doom Generation. Available anywhere you find podcasts.
Do you love the strange, the unexplained, and the downright terrifying? Horrifying History takes you on a chilling journey into the dark corners of the past, where history and horror collide. From haunted places and ghostly legends to unsolved mysteries and terrifyingly true stories, you will uncover the twisted facts that history books leave out. Who were the real monsters behind infamous legends? What dark secrets lie buried in the pages of history? Every episode, we reveal the eerie truths that will send shivers down your spine. Are you brave enough to face the darkness? Horrifying History, available now wherever you listen to your podcasts. But don't wait for too long. The past might just come looking for you. Listen if you dare.
I'm Dean, I'm the dad.
I'm Laura, I'm the mom.
And I'm Arthur, I'm the son.
And together we are...
Family Plot! Plot Podcast is the best history podcast that we can make.
Like intellectual pancakes for the soul.
I've been called the cool dad you want to take a road trip with and learn about history from.
One of our listeners said, listen to me was like Mom reading you a bedtime story full of cool history, and I am here for it.
And one of our reviewers called me the snarky brother they wish they had.
So join us to learn some cool stuff,
to hear some fun banter and wild tangents.
And we are unabashedly LGBTQ friendly and trans positive and supportive. So join us and occasionally some very cool guests
for the Family Plot Podcast.
Available wherever you get your podcasts.
It feels so good to be behind the mic. I don't even mind the planes. You guys, I DIY'd myself a desktop mic stand because I was getting a little sick of the boom that I've been using to record stuff on, and I really like it. It's simple. It looks vaguely like an old-time radio mic, the way I have it set up with my pop filter. Like a cross between an old-time radio mic and one of those old-timey phones that you have the earpiece is separate from the mouthpiece, like from the 30s. At least that's what I think it looks like. It looks cool. But it's just a microphone. How cool can a fucking microphone stand look? Anyway. Jesus Christ. Okay, you know what? I forgot. Let me do Debbie Does Death real quick. I'm glad that there's just constant planes in the air. Get those planes in the air. Get those planes in the air. Planes in the air. I've always been a Hammer horror fan, but had a difficult time coming across those. I've always been a Hammer horror fan, but had a difficult time coming across... Fuck me. I've always been a Hammer horror... And the mother... What is going on outside? With asphalt shingles. With asphalt shingles. With asphalt shingles. Now say that fucking tongue twister 6 times fast. Asphalt shingles, asphalt shingles.